Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back once again now to the StarLadder StarSeries Season 14. Our North American match for this evening is Games Academy versus Enemy GG. Of course, Games Academy just took the first map back over there on Inferno, and now we're heading into map number 2 right now, which is going to be over here on Cache. This is the pick from Games Academy, and of course, with Games Academy just taking our first one. Does not leave a whole lot of inspiration, of course, for the members of Enemy to sort of swing things back. Now, some notes from Inferno as we're sort of getting through the knife round, which Enemy is going to end up winning. I think the biggest weakness for Enemy, even though it'll be interesting to see how things come into play, as they are going to start off onto the CT side here. The biggest weakness was, in general, that CT side and the communication that sprung from things back over there. We saw them doing okay on a couple rounds, but ultimately, as we see with a lot of teams here, and especially against a lot of North American teams, the biggest problem that surfaced was Games Academy was playing not necessarily a very aggressive T side, but sort of a very held back, but then I would hesitate, I guess I would call it explosive T side for Games Academy, where they hold back for the most part, just wait for opening picks. If they can't find one, nothing not much off their chest, sort of wait until they get later into the round, somewhere between that 1 minute and 30-second marker, and then all 5 just sort of boom, right onto his site, and try to go for an entry at that point. And because it happened so quickly, an Enemy just, in a lot of rounds, had absolutely no idea that it was coming into play there. We saw them just unable to react to it. They would just, they would kill the 2 defenders on the site, because this is another good thing that we saw from Games Academy, was their entry power on the T side was a lot stronger than Enemy's ability to hold their initial angles there. Because that entry power is just so strong, Enemy were left with nothing to hold off at a lot of the rounds, and they just called the save, at least 2 or 3 occurrences where that ended up happening, where they could have potentially gone for retakes. The holds were stronger if they managed to evacuate 1 or 2 players out of the site. So that was the biggest issue that we saw on that CT side, and that's often something that happens back over on a map like Inferno. Don't see it happening so much here on Cache, because it is a much more open map in terms of the site access. It's a lot easier to get yourselves back into the site. B's a little bit more off from that, but with a lot of the takes happening over towards A for a lot of teams, it does leave a lot more room for retakes to happen there, especially in outnumbered scenarios. So we'll see what Enemy decide to do here, if they've worked on those issues, if they've tried to correct things from the previous map, and if they'll be able to swing back and tie things up at 1-1, or if Games Academy will continue their own strong spree, which it looks like they're going to be able to do here in the pistol round, as Enemy are doing something that a lot of North American teams do, where Hen is going down there to that molly, but keeps himself alive, where they sort of just hold off, they let their opponent take the site, and then they go for the 5-man retake. So far, not going so well, but that's a great flash over there, too, onto some of the members, so this is going to be Anomaly. As he comes in, he's going to be able to pick up 1 kill, more getting executed here as well. Actually, a very swift retake, as Games Academy, I'm not sure what went on, but they didn't really seem ready for this one, so it's actually going to be a swift dispatch of most of the members of Games Academy as soon as they get started with it. A little rough initially getting themselves into the site, but they do manage to bring it back into their favor and win out that pistol round just like that. And now they're up 1-0 here at this point on the CT side. For Games Academy, of course, is going to have to save up a few times before they can get the buy for themselves, but by taking this round here on round number 2 very light, they won't be able to go for that 3rd round buy, which does appear to be the game plan, and unfortunately for Enemy, not really very respecting of that, as we see on the buys from these guys. They seem to think it's going to be pretty straightforward in terms of the buy recourse here, waiting for the 4th round to go for the buy up here. So we see a couple SMGs in play. Now, the interesting buy, as, of course, Enemy MAiNLiNE just sort of executes these players one by one. Now, the interesting buy is the fact that we did decide to see the 5-7 back over here on Relyks, which is probably going to lead into him probably buying an op with how cleanly this one's going. In fact, the only kill that Games Academy you're going to be able to get is Lucas taking down MAiNLiNE. This is probably going to lead into that op being bought up now, but still not really enough money for it here. The only player that would be able to go for it would have been back over here onto MAiNLiNE, but even he's had to go for his own rebuys now. But they realized how light that round was, and they were going to go for this 3rd round buy-up, so we'll just go right into the rifle upgrades for those that did go down. And thankfully, with some of those players taking it very light, they can still very much so afford it with utility behind it as well. So it's not too much off their shoulders, but here now that we've got Games Academy with full rifles, you're still looking at both koosta and Relyks sitting on SMGs. That does limit their potential a little bit, especially if they go for a big open site like over here towards middle and on the A site, which is exactly what they're moving towards right now. And what's even worse is now that SHOOWTiME has found this opening pick back over here, that's going to throw up the plans a little bit. But Enemy, they get a little aggressive themselves in an attempt to strike back. They're going to be able to come back in here and find N1 to take him down. You can see that highway attempt coming out from Tacio. A little bit rough making his way over there towards upper, but he does find his position. He's going to keep it too, but his aim is all in the wrong spot there. Koosta is going to be able to find a fairly simplistic kill in order to take him down. Now the rest of Games Academy working to take back over here to the B side instead, but as a player sitting over here on the first left box, he's actually going to be dispatched fairly quickly by Phoenix though, and SHOOWTiME found another kill onto the CTs inside of CT main too, so they've dispatched them, and this is your Piece de Resistance plant spot for the T side here. As Lucas gets it right here, the final 2 players besides Lucas can head themselves over into the T halls and sort of inside of checkers by vents too. And it's such a hard retake, even if if you have a man advantage to work with here. That's because those guys can sit back forever, and you essentially have to get aggressive to find the kills. So Uber is going to manage to successfully burn down Lucas. Obviously, it was a little chaotic there with all the nades coming in, but still a trade was found by the members of Games Academy, and Phoenix is actually going to manage that very well at the end of it, picking up that round with a 3K, and SHOOWTiME finding 2 kills himself. But the big problem there is by giving them such early site access is you're able to get that plant spot, and like I said before, even with a man advantage, it's a very hard retake to do, is you're essentially forced to get aggressive in that situation and push in either checkers or the T-halls to force that T that's still alive to hold back while the teammate goes to the defuse. If there's only one left alive, like if it's a one-on-one, it's almost like a 90% guaranteed chance to clutch out the round unless he gets aggressive and kills you first. But it's just a very hard position, unfortunately, for the CTs to retake from, especially to defuse from, too. So Games Academy given all that free time. They're able to get that plant spot going into there. Not a whole lot left for these guys to do, but koosta actually playing a little bit creatively with the smoke that the T's tossed down. He's able to pop out over here outside of Z and pick up the kill as Games Academy try to get a little aggressive to take that quick control of Highway. Doesn't end up panning out so well, and the rest of the Highway players fall back too, so now they're all coming in through A-Main. Relyks is going to be able to pop out as he finds his kill on a Lucas. Uber finding an additional 1-2, so this take not really going anywhere. They do surprise him a little bit, but Uber now on point after a sort of underscored performance from the previous one, after the previous map. He's only Hen alive here, and he can't even pick up a headshot at all, so enemy strike right back here after that one round being picked up by G8. That's going to really muck with the economy here on the side of the T's. And now, as you can see, all sorts of amounts being floated around by these players. 3K on Lucas, which should be sufficient enough to go for a pistol armor buy. But same story for a lot of these other players, too. But with amounts like 1,500 floating around and 1,400 initially sitting on a Tacio, not really going to be too much to go for a buy this time. So they're going to go for the full save. Won't be expecting too much. Probably a kill or two, essentially, is their biggest goal. And maybe the plan if they can work for it. But they haven't bought smokes or anything, so that's actually going to be a pretty hard goal to accomplish. And you can see here, too, koosta wrapping his way right inside of T-Main, or CT-Main, I should say. Doesn't actually find anything. And looks at the floor expecting a teammate flash to come out, or even an opponent's flash to come out from misdirection, but doesn't get anything. He's done some good damage, though, and this is what's going to matter as we get ourselves into the later portion of the round. Now we can see here, too, Uber and Anomaly picking up those 2 frags. The bomb does go down, so they managed to accomplish their minimalist goal, at least. But now it's going to be about trying to do some more work here. And Phoenix with only 10 HP, he's slowly going to get surrounded. He won't be finding anything else and get shut down by Uber. And now it's just Tacio. He does pick up 1 kill, but that defuse is unstoppable. And he hasn't found an upgrade either, so not going to be too much that he can do here at the end of the round. And enemy are going to be able to find a 4th point this time around. So they'll sit at 4-1, comfortable lead. But Games Academy taking that round with essentially no additional utility armor or even upgraded pistols for some of their players. They're going to be able to lead very quickly into another buy round for themselves as well. Not a whole lot of utility coming into this one. Actually, correct that. They're looking quite alright now that we see Han was able to get himself some buys there as well. So, full smokes, 2 mollies. It's basically a fairly average utility buy-up, and of course, with all of the grenades and whatnot being behind it, and with all of the armor and guns being behind it, should make for a pretty good round now on the side of GA, but the execution is going to be the key thing that they have to work towards here. As enemy, actually, by playing a fairly aggressive CT side, have been able to knock out the offensive before it even begins in quite a few of these rounds, or at the very least, the holds have looked a lot stronger on this map than it did previously, which does hesitate to beg the question as to why exactly they went for the pick over there onto Inferno first. But that's all in the past now. So we'll see here. Uber is going to try to hold things off back over here towards the middle as Games Academy. They're going to line themselves up for a take. They go right in through A-Main, but it's very, very slow, as you can already tell here from a lot of the push that's coming out. Not going to be able to make their way in, and I believe we'll still have a little bit of GoTV lag there. So koosta's going to find the first kill. They try to chase him into it. Hen finds the response kill over there too, but MAiNLiNE's going to pick up an additional 1. Phoenix trades it, so it's even for the time being. SHOOWTiME, though, doesn't catch koosta to begin with, and koosta thankfully falls back behind cover because of this. MAiNLiNE's with him as well, and all sorts of errors happening here. Players not spotting players correctly, but there's SHOOWTiME picking up another kill onto Anomaly. He is traded out by MAiNLiNE once again, so we're down to a 2-on-2. The T's man the health advantage in a big way, and now as MAiNLiNE has found that kill, Phoenix is going to be able to wrap around and finish off the final 2 players, holding up by quad. They'll get a free out for their troubles, and they'll be able to pick up a 2nd round off of the hands of this one as well. So there we go. Games Academy, a little bit messy there, as we saw all sorts of mistakes being made, sort of by both teams too. People just not finding kills correctly, not picking up the correct information there for some reason. But at the end of the day, Games Academy, well, it's a very iffy trade. They do manage to come out on top of it. And they're going to lead 2-4. Actually, they're still going to be behind 2-4, but they will lead the economy game now, as enemy are going to have a little bit more work to do to get themselves back into this game. Anomaly, and actually a lot of enemy, again, fairly typical 3-2 split. Actually, I think it's, trying to see now if it's, yeah, it's actually a four-man stack over here on the A site. They're going to try to hold things off, but Tacio already finding out one of the back over there on the upper spot. koosta taking a little bit of damage there, too, to drop him down to 54 HP. They do have a player on top of Big Red, but he's gone down from this now because he knows that's coming in, and that's almost a nade to the face of Uber, so he's now down to 20 HP as well. So the health pools here not looking so healthy for enemy, and Relyks is going to try to take up a position in this smoke in hopes of being able to move out of it, but he is exposed. They can see his arm there, so there's going to be Tacio finding that kill in order to take him down. koosta looking for this one over here on the Tacio as well, but Tacio actually, although he does manage to execute those two, he doesn't expect the third to be rolling in, so he is going to be able to, Uber this is going to be able to find that kill. And
bomb has been planted.
and now we're going to see Games Academy being able to pretty much close up this round without any more initial problems. And it does look like there is a little bit of a lag problem on the server, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that, but you could sort of see it happening there in that round once again, where it mucked with the players a little bit as they kind of hesitated for a moment. But nonetheless, I don't think it affected it in a very, very big way, so much as to sort of screw the round output so much. So there's Games Academy again, picking up that third round that we sort of expect them to do, and actually they're going to find a second op now too that SHOOWTiME is going to be picking up, so this will be interesting to see how they work this double op setup now over here on the T side. Obviously again, Tacio will have no trouble getting his own rebuy back up there, but this is now also the time for enemy to get their guns back into play here too. Relyks, interestingly enough, because he kept himself alive out of that round, is actually still going to roll with the MP7 just as of yet here. But the rest of the team, they've now gone up for the regular upgrades with rifles and whatnot. MAiNLiNE, unfortunately, can't afford that M4 just as of yet, but they do have the op back in the hands of koosta, which has proven to be a very, very big player time and time again, in pretty much his entire team's history as well. So that's going to be the big key weapon here that they have to utilize to the best of its ability if they want to have any chance of picking up this round so far. And Uber as well has been having a pretty good map for himself, so we'll see if he can do this again. Not exactly sure if Hen has spotted him, but you can tell he's holding back over there on the steps, so he hasn't pushed into it just as of yet. And I think he does get the idea that there could be a presence from somebody in here, and there we go. Taking it nice and slow. He is going to be rewarded with a kill. In the meantime, let's check out the second opera now, which is SHOOWTiME. He's actually hanging out in the B halls right now, just trying to hold off and see if there's going to be any extra aggression coming out from enemy. Won't be finding it, and in the meantime, actually, Games Academy, despite the kill that Hen has managed to find, they haven't decided to push into the site just as of yet, because that and Squeaky are like the only two angles they have control of right now. They haven't gotten middle as of yet, and we can see this now as they work their way in. MAiNLiNE, oh, almost catching that kill, but SHOOWTiME, he's going to be able to rack very quickly, almost finding a second, but I think he hits the box instead, so it's not going to go through the box and the wall. Tacio, in the meantime, now that they've drawn the distraction back over towards middle, he's going to be able to roll in, and SoFort again has SoFort been the most impactful entry fragger on both teams as of yet. He comes in, he finds 2 kills just like that, and already just down a koosta, who unfortunately hasn't had a whole lot of time to play in this round. Almost going to catch Tacio as he messes up jumping onto the truck, but only legs him, so he brings it down to 10 HP. And I think that was through the truck too, because if I remember properly, Tacio might have taken a little bit more heat than what was happening there. So he's going to hold off, try to keep himself alive. But you can see he's been surrounded now. Picks up 1 kill, looking for another. Not checking his right angle there. Tries to get it, but SHOOWTiME with his own op. He is going to be able to shut him down. And now that is going to be the tie point coming out here from Games Academy. We'll be locked at 4 for now. And this is the big chance for Games Academy to take the lead at this point. And enemy, unfortunately, will have to fall behind a little bit and allow these players to work themselves ahead once again. Thankfully, though, the side advantage over here on a map like Catch is not going to be too big of a deal. This is a fairly even map. So where it was an absolutely huge and pretty much game-ending impact that we saw the 11 rounds on T-side going by the way of Games Academy previously, they were able to bring it back a little bit and get themselves up to 9 rounds at the very least. But on a round like this, of course, Tacio just going to basically run things over as he picks up 3 kills pretty casually. MAiNLiNE does get a response, but immediately it's traded out. Anomaly ends up shutting down Tacio, so again, some more kills coming out here, and he does find 1 more before faltering, but at the end of the day, Games Academy are going to end that round. Actually, with only 2 players left alive, so that wasn't the worst round in the world for enemy, considering what they invested into it. They still managed to pick up quite a few kills there, especially with that AK that they managed to scavenge, so doing a good job of keeping the money down lower at the very least. You can see Phoenix, along with Tacio, still only with a combined money stack of 2,550, 2,500 of that sitting specifically on a Tacio, and Phoenix basically being out of cash at this point, so in terms of trying to keep these players close to an eco, enemy are not doing the worst job at that in the world. But that does hark back to exactly the kind of situation we were seeing previously as well on the last map, is that Games Academy never really got themselves on that T-side Inferno to a point where they were able to get these ridiculous buying sprees. And when they did start dropping a couple rounds in a row there, they almost always held it together, just sort of with, you know, 1 to 2 players having that amount of excess. And when they did finally drop them, they were pretty quickly put onto an eco. So enemy, it's not necessarily, and I talked about this too, it's not necessarily the problem of just getting run over by their opponents. It's more so the fact that they lose a lot of players early on, whether it's due to over-aggression or just overall the inability to hold the site from the get-go of things. And we see those free kills going out by the hands of the Brazilians so many times that by the time they do get themselves in the retake and they start being able to trade out those kills, It's obviously already left them down 1 or 2 players, and Games Academy are able to make up for that by finding those trades and putting them in 2-1 situations by the end of the rounds. But this time, going to be a little bit different as Relyks picks up the first kill. Nonetheless, Lucas trying to shift his way into the site. Not a whole lot of resistance from the CTs, but Tacio actually plants it wide out in the open. Anomaly trying to get the spray onto him as they see that position being planted out, but koosta, interestingly enough, can't find the shot because the smoke is obscuring too much at this point. So Anomaly, he's going to press through. Lucas does find the trade as his hand, and Tacio, holy crap, picks up 2 kills in a row, both headshots on Uber and koosta. They just line up for him, and he shuts it down right there. Not to underscore the rest of the efforts there, too, holding things off from CT main, but that's a big play right there from Tacio, once again shutting it down. That heaven re-entry doesn't go anywhere at all. And Games Academy now at a fairly comfortable 2-point lead here, and once again, enemy post-buy round going on to another eco for themselves. A little bit of armor behind this, so again, looking to maybe impact in some degree here the economy from Games Academy, but at the end of the day, not too much they can do with guns such as this, and already you've got Hen and Tacio picking up 2 as that aggression comes out from enemy outside of team A, and they spot the push and they can rotate, and there's going to be MAiNLiNE picking up 1 kill off of the hinges of a great pop flash there. He tries to find the second, but SHOOWTiME did manage to duck his way out, and now he's going to be able to pick up the additional kill as well. Put things back into balance in a 4-on-2. No additional upgrades for any of these players just as of yet. Uber's going to roll in first. They, interestingly enough, don't spot him. So he kind of just walks in and kills the bomb planter before it actually happens. But now this nade's going to get wrapped around the corner, and it almost kills Relyks with 1 hit. He's down to 6 HP, but that's not going to stop him. He gets 1 kill. Then the second nade comes in from the T's, though, and that's going to clear him out. And thankfully good with the op there is going to be able to finish him up. But that's another fairly close to full eco round there. Our enemy actually bring it down to just 2 players on Games Academy, so they're having a little bit of trouble with those anti-ecos. And again, this is another example of where enemy, you know, they get very, very close to clutching out the round in situations where they may not be able to, but just missing that little bit of an oomph to push it over the edge. And in these gun rounds itself, it's oftentimes losing players a little bit more early on, and we saw that in that last one too, where Games Academy, even though enemy got the first pick, Games Academy made up for it with some great entry power coming out there from Tacio, which just as of yet, enemy have not been able to find a way to stop this, so they've just been powering through it over here on the side of the Brazilians. There's Hen again, finding the first opening kill, shuts down the Oppers. They get themselves into a little bit of a battle just outside. I believe that happens over outside of Checkers there, and he can spot it just through an angle. Now, Relyks, in the meantime, is going to wait and see if this player gets aggressive. The problem is, of course, is that the actual push is not going to be coming in from that angle. Hen, as you can see, has put himself right over here in the back B halls, waiting for more of a push to come out. He's going to get smoked. Probably will stick around just in case somebody tries to entry, and it's they're only going to use the smoke to sort of get Relyks out of there safely and get additional player on the B side, because they don't know 100% where this push is coming in from just as of yet. But now the flashes one are going to come in towards middle. There's no resistance at all in middle. Middle's a free game for all the T's at this point. Not only even holding towards Chuck, just in case they try to do something a little bit different and work through Z. But I think this is pretty straightforward, actually, where they're going to go into the vents. They've moved a couple players to the B halls once again, and they're going to go for the take there instead. Even using highway a little bit here, too, we can see Lucas is going to try to make some noise and almost gets that kill through blind smoke or through a blind flash, but MAiNLiNE thankfully gets the kill first, and now they know that this is going to be a fake, so they can rotate in early. It's a little slow from Games Academy, so enemy might actually be able to hold this, especially with Relyks now. He's got 1-op shot, looking for a second. Great pop flash comes out from either him or a teammate as well, so he's pretty safe for the time being, but he's getting wrapped at this point, but the shot's not going to connect at first. SHOOWTiME does manage to pick it back up, though, and find Relyks. So now it's down to a 3-on-3. Those CTs looking for a way back in. They don't have a necessarily perfect plant spot just as of yet. They haven't been able to get it out in the open, as it's a bit risky with that heaven position still being a bit of a risk, so they're not going to be able to go for that, but very held back. There's Hen to catch him one from CT main. Finds the second, and now they know where that third player is. Back over here, too. It's Anomaly. He's going to try to find a kill, but SHOOWTiME will shut it down, and Hen again. It's been Hen, SHOOWTiME, and as well as Tacio here, just finding kills left and right, and you can see it already here. Tacio and SHOOWTiME leading the frags by 12 and 13 points each. Hen's a little bit further behind at 9, but he's definitely been impacting in a very, very big way with rounds such as that, finding those entries and finding the initial kills time and time again, and we can see on enemy side, too, they know just how far behind they've gotten. They can't afford to go for another save. They've got to go for this next buy-up. It's going to limit them in a very big way. They're able to get a decent amount of smokes and flashes out, but in terms of molly power and whatnot for the retake, or even for this initial hold, it's not going to be looking very strong for these players at all, and enemy not going to be looking so good to hold things here. They do try to go inside. koosta's going to try to take on Tacio. Tacio a little bit off with the aim, but he does pick up the kill there. Dropped the 51 HP in the process, but nonetheless falters them without getting any additional tradebacks, and SHOOWTiME overexposed, but Relyks doesn't pop up as of yet. He hasn't been able to see him. He's got the M4 too. Now he's going to go for, I have no clue why SHOOWTiME was looking back the other direction. I'm guessing hoping somebody was coming into mid-garage, but that's not the case at all, and Relyks basically gets a free kill off of that. Looking for more now, but in the meantime, Uber and the rest of his teammates holding things off very strongly in that A site. They've got the bomb on the ground now, but there's Henny. I think that was through the smoke. He manages to kill MAiNLiNE. Now they're into this site. Phoenix spotting another one into Uber as well, but Relyks coming back in through A main now. He's going to pick up 1 and 2 kills on a Phoenix and Tacio, and we can see Hen tries to pick up that kill onto Anomaly, but he shuts it down. And enemy off of mainly the hands of Relyks there. hold on once again for another round. They're back up. And that's a force, too, that they went off of that. They're up to 5 points here. And for Games Academy, thankfully, they did get their money into a pretty good spot. Hen specifically has been alive since I don't even know when. He's been sitting on max money for quite a while. He's going to drop a gun for a teammate, I believe. Actually, no, he's not going to drop a gun for a teammate, but he's going to go for the op buy-up with full utility behind all of it. And so can the rest of his team. So they're still in a good spot. And they still have to do at least one more round before they can break that money situation. Maybe two, as one of his opponents still sitting on 8K. SHOOWTiME finds the opening kill. There was some shots going through the garage that connected over here onto Hen, but that's nothing compared to what's been traded back onto enemy so far. And there's Anomaly, gets himself into the useless room, picks up a headshot over onto SHOOWTiME, but they know he's in here now. The smoke comes out. Anomaly actually still sticking in that corner. Lucas is going to be able to use this. He crosses back out and catches the kill onto Anomaly, and this should reignite the possibility of a B take now. The main problem, of course, is going to be Tacio, but thankfully he's the entry king. As he pops out, finds that kill on a MAiNLiNE. MAiNLiNE a little bit over the smoke at that point, so not going to be able to spot it. This pop flash is perfect, but he's got to check behind him, and as he drops down, locks onto that headshot there, shuts down Relyks, survives the encounter with 8 HP, and now we're down to just one more left alive from enemy, and that's going to be koosta with the op. Has armor and whatnot behind it, but as he pops out, that'll be a simplistic kill to grab onto Tacio with only 8 HP, but it's with the op as well, so he only needs one shot to finish the job. The plan's got to come out, and I think the best part about this position, just as of yet, unless he managed to spot the bomb, is he's got no clue as to where exactly this is planted. There was a push onto A, and he can hear this now as well. There's also some action on B, so it really could be working itself towards either site. He's not even going to go for it, but he sort of has to hide behind this truck because he has absolutely no clue where the majority of these opponents are positioned, and I think Phoenix is going to find out in a second. Yep, just exactly where that last player is hiding, but they can't really do anything about it. This is a very strong position, and unless they use, like, flashes, which they don't actually have any of those left, it's going to be a little bit hard for them to get back in here and kill him. Molly, though, still around the corner. They missed the opening chance. He's trying to tuck himself away, and that's actually not going to go so well. Lucas manages to shut him down, and again, look at the money here for the CTs at this point. Not enough to really go for a full sufficient buy. That op could have given them a lot of extra power going into this next round, but now they're not going to have it, and they're reduced to at the most 5-7 armor buys with full utility kits behind it. And Games Academy, of course, no trouble for them. Like I said before, they are having struggles doing it in the last map, but this time they got a very nice, I don't even know how many rounds this is, like, almost, I think it's like 7 rounds in a row that they were able to get for themselves there, so they had a good chance to build up quite a large stack of money, quite a large stack of money for themselves, and obviously even with, there was a couple rounds going by the way of enemy, it's not going to be enough to break it. And Games Academy still going to be very much so armed to the teeth here in the 15th and final round. Already getting the bomb plant here too. Enemy going for the re-entry here on a couple different angles, but as they pop out, there's actually going to be a dink from MAiNLiNE trying to finish it off, but SHOOWTiME handles it. Now the back alley is clear. The rest are trying to work their way back in here through CT main, but that gets shut down pretty quickly by Phoenix, and as they try to get onto one of these CTs to watch something, they die one by one, and Games Academy are going to have another strong half about themselves, just below their scoreline from the previous map. We'll sit things at 10-5 this time. And once again, that's still a very, very strong lead for an even map such as this. Even considering we expect something like 8-7, 9-6. A little bit more CT-sided. But it's just barely in that amount. Like I said before, 8-7, sometimes 9-6, depending on the caliber of team you have playing it towards the CTs. So we'll go right into the next half here, guys. Games Academy now jumping onto the CT side. And let's, of course, not try to favorite things just as of yet, as Games Academy weren't without their own faults on that CT side. They weren't exactly as responsive as well here when it came to reacting to things that enemy was doing. As enemy also actually a little bit trickier, but a lot more straightforward with their T side, I should mention too. But Games Academy, possibly because of them being a little bit too passive with their play over on the CT side, they weren't really able to hold things as strong. They relied a lot on catching the initial push instead of directly contesting it and trying to stop it from happening as enemy liked to do previously. So this time though, we can see pretty much the same strategy employed, a little bit differently positioned, but it's basically the same thing that enemy is going to try to pull on their own pistol round here. And so far, enemy seems to be holding it off as they know it a little bit better, but the trades leave it into a 2-on-2. Anomaly, however, hiding inside of Squeaky, is going to be able to pop right out and pick up one more kill. It's just Phoenix left alive. I'm going to assume there's a kid on the ground somewhere, but unfortunately he's been sort of surrounded here now by the members of enemy. Now they're going to pick up pistols here. 2 for 2 on this map so far. And I believe that's 3 out of 4. I'm not exactly sure if they picked up the first one back over on Inferno. I think they actually dropped that one, but beyond that, they've had about 75% of the wins here on the pistol round so far tonight. So that's not bad at all. Just when it gets to the gun rounds that those weaknesses start to appear a little bit. And thankfully, their T side is a little bit more stronger. And also, they're not so far behind on this map as they were previously. Only 5 rounds behind comparatively to 7 on the last map. So they've got a lot more sort of breathing room this time. And in this first anti-eco round, Games Academy, of course, are going to go for the fairly aggressive buy-up this time. Considering enemy are going to be able to go full throttle at this as well. Already upgrading to 4 of the AKs. But for most of Games Academy, it's 5 Simmons, a CZ on the Phoenix, and Hen will go straight for the scout buy-up. So he wants to try and work something with that, and he's going to be positioning himself onto that A site, just over here by quad corner. Obviously nothing too surprising of a position there for the Opper, but won't really be seeing too much action unless he moves himself, as most of enemy, they're going to be looking to find themselves into that B site. And they do seem a little bit more ready for this, of course. Tacio puts himself into the box spot back over here behind checkers right now, and is going to look to find something there. Relyks is also making some progress at just pushing things up highway here too, and I honestly think enemy have kind of caught just how heavy the aggression or just how heavy the hold pressure is back over here on the B site too, so they're going to shift the play up just a little bit, and Relyks is actually doing a great job of managing himself. Unfortunately, he's going to end up getting shut down by SHOOWTiME, but as we see there, koosta is finally there to find a trade, and Anomaly shuts down the player that killed his own teammate. So it's just Tacio as he comes in and picks up at least one more kill onto MAiNLiNE, but it'll be enemy ultimately that close things out with 3 players left alive. And now they will sit 7-10, just a couple more rounds behind. One more save coming out here from Games Academy as well, because they're not in a secure position just as of yet either to go for their buy, coming off of that force, quite obviously. And for enemy, actually going to use MAiNLiNE pretty passively this time around, which is a pretty common thing to see too, with him just going for the 5-7 buy, or 5-7 pickup, I should mention, from the previous round. Nobody expunged from him. It's pretty likely that at least one of these players is going to go down, and there you have it, actually. So now someone else can just pick that right back up, and they still have all their rifles in play. Phoenix is going to be able to pick up an additional kill here, but beyond that, it was an attempt to just do an aggressive hold in middle, and as many things do in the third round after losing your forced-up eco, doesn't really end up panning out so well for the CTs there. So enemy will close it out, and now only be 2 more rounds behind as we see the first big guns getting into the hands of the members of Games Academy. No op coming out just as of yet for Hen. A little bit lapse on that. They've chosen the utility over this, and we can see too 4 HE grenades, so I'm curious to see if they're actually going to try to do something with this as their roller scheme too, and it looks like they are going to go for a bit of a nade stack here, but I don't think it's going to end up catching anything here. Most of enemy sort of skirting their way back over here towards middle, just playing the usual hold spots, not pushing in towards anything just as of yet. And with the exception of this initial aggression that came out from GA, nothing really else coming out from these guys either, just as of yet. SHOOWTiME knows that there's a little bit of a presence coming in towards middle, so he does hold inside of Cubby, and goes for the reapplication on the smoke here too. And we can see Tacio inside of vents. So if enemy do go for aggressive control, and unfortunately Tacio is going to force away, so it's good that they do this, especially with koosta too. That opens it up for the kill to come out from him back over here as he tries to retreat himself into the B sites. That's actually a very good trap that eventually gets sprung by these players, but now as they come back in through middle, Relyks picks up 1 kill. Phoenix responds with 2 more of his own though, so that's going to drop both Uber and MAiNLiNE, and that evens out the score once again, back down to 3 players for each side. And enemy, after this sort of awkward exchange of kills happening, not really 100% sure on where they should take the bomb just as yet. They do decide to move it over towards B, but you have to remember, besides just 1 kill being scored out by koosta, they haven't found anything else either. And of course, with Relyks sort of being trapped inside of middle there, he would have dealt with Phoenix, and that smoke is not set up properly, so he's going to pick up that kill. Now it's a 2-on-3. They're going to see this coming. Phoenix, a little slow on the rotate, but he gets himself here just as the take is happening. And now we see Lucas picking up 1 kill, but that leaves the final player overexposed as he finds the trade. Koosta is going to be able to drop Lucas, but Phoenix again comes back out there. Pretty big round from him, actually, if I remember. I think he picks up like 3 kills that time, so he's going to get the free op, and that goes over to Hen, so good job, and she's going to save that there that time too, because it ends up being a little bit of an unnecessary expense with how quickly Hen died, and now he gets a free op for choosing to save that in the previous round. The enemy, of course, with them not really being given a chance to stabilize their own economy just as of yet, they will be able to go for another big buy this time, but it's going to be limited to 3 Tech 9s with armor sitting behind them, and the 2 AKs on Relyks and Uber, and they're going to have to hope that those do some work. And again, we saw before, Uber in the last map was actually really struggling to pick up the frags, especially on the second half. They brought it back a little bit, of course, when they picked up that 5-round streak that they had going for themselves, but this round is a lot different, or this map is a lot different. Uber's actually been one of the top fraggers so far on enemy, and although this is a great thing, as we kind of look at, again, some of the problems that we've been surfacing from enemy, this just sort of shows the inconsistency with the team, where these players have really good maps and really weak maps, as they're still working on some of that stuff as one of the more newer move-up teams coming into this season. But we'll stop talking for a second as the action's getting started here. Phoenix holds his own. SHOOWTiME gets a chance to shine as well here, and that take goes absolutely nowhere from enemy. And you can just see all the bodies, oh, they go away now, but all the bodies just sitting on the ground. The farthest they get is that corner back over by Squeaky and Big Red, so they get shut down pretty quickly. And Games Academy now into a pretty cozy position, to be completely honest here, in terms of their scoreline. Up 4, almost restoring what they had at the end of the previous half here. And enemy actually just going to force it up once again. Tech 9 buys, flashes a couple smokes and a molly behind it, so it's not the worst buy in the world, considering that their economy is basically in the trash can at this point. But Phoenix again will be tested back over here by the forklift. might even realize this is coming too, is after he takes up that position by a forklift, he does decide to fall back. Keep in mind, he's currently the only player in the site, at least. You've got Hen here, but he's held back ready with a molly, and unfortunately, because Phoenix is left out in the open there, Anomaly's going to be able to shut him down, so that molly comes back in there from Hen. Is going to actually do a decent amount there, as both Relyks and Anomaly, I think, mainly due to that, are dropped down to 52 and 47 HP respectively, and, I guess that was a nade, but we saw a nade come in from somewhere, and it did a hell of a lot of damage to enemy, but I'm not exactly sure where it came in from. I didn't hear a noise that corresponded to it, and oh my goodness, these enemy players are being forced out, but they're not ready for it! Uber's gonna be able to come out there, he finds the kill into SHOOWTiME. Hen comes in though and finishes things off, but now it's still a one-on-one. MAiNLiNE still has a hold on this, and Henny's running out of time now, so as he wraps around, he flashes himself! Oh, and MAiNLiNE finishes that off. He gets the free op, and that toss over Big Red does not go the way that Hen wanted it to at all. And now enemy will be able to sneak away off of a Tech 9 buy. Nonetheless, they'll be able to sneak away with another round. And although they were in a comfy position with the scoreline, Games Academy was not secure at all in terms of their money. So they immediately go back down onto a onto another eco round for themselves with nothing really sitting behind it. So beyond a couple good angle kills here, we won't really be expecting to see too much coming up from GA this time. And this could very well be the 10th point being picked up now by the members of enemy. So just waiting for enemy to sort of make their move. They're not 100% sure just as of yet that this is an eco round, so you can see, of course, even if it is, they're going to play it slow, but that's actually a bit of a good bait there, too. Obviously not necessarily calling it a bait, but it takes down Taco, but it puts him out of position, and then we do see Lucas is sort of ready there for it, so he's going to get an op off of this, but he's very much so out of position. However, Phoenix holding things off. He picks up 2 kills with his deagle, and now more pressure's coming in from behind these guys. He finds a 3rd shot with the deagle to shut down Uber, and now we're going to see Anomaly picking up a kill, but Hen's able to close it out, and that hold up from the Shroud spot with the deagle just shuts down the offense, and oh my god, holy crap, they strike right back, and now they're up to 13 points. Enemy's still down at 9. And Ryu's trying to take tips from his opponents. Holy crap. So, just like that, enemy now goes back onto their own eco here. They'll have a deagle in the hand of koosta this time, but I highly doubt he's going to be able to replicate a round such as that. And of course, this actually might just seal the deal, to be honest, here for Games Academy. And not only this map, but this set potentially. They're up to 13 points. Unless we see another eco responded to. This one's not as strong from enemy this time around. They've got Tech 9. They had Tech 9 armor on the one they won, but this time they do have a deagle in the hands of koosta. He's done some work with it before, but not going to be able to do it this time. Taco shuts him down, and that was their biggest weapon, so now they've got at most P250s here. 1 flash to work with, and as they work their way in here, I'm not sure the flash has really done all that much damage. Lucas already shutting down one more. MAiNLiNE is going to pick up that deagle, but they just shut them down nice and fast, and now that's 14 points. Almost the team ace for Games Academy as well. Taco got a little bit greedy and stole a kill from Hen, but nonetheless, 4 kills being scored by 4 players, and a 2K coming out there from Taco. This will be really, of course, as you can see from enemy, they're going to force things up here a little bit. They could have saved one more and gotten a much more solid buy behind this with utility and probably the op, but that would put them on 15 points, which is sort of the same thing they risked in the previous map too, and it worked out to some degree, but we saw it bite them in the butt once they managed to start losing the rounds there. They immediately just dropped 2 more and the game was over, where they could have forced up and potentially held things at about only 12 points for the CTs if they had picked up that 4th round, but it didn't really pan out, and they decided to just save things instead and let Games Academy get to 14 points. So this is exactly the scoreline where they fell apart previously, but hopefully this time they're going to have a little bit better luck. 2-for-1 trade to start things off so far in the favor of enemy, but Uber also taking some hits too, and there's going to be Lucas not only finding the even trade, but the advantage now for Games Academy. The smoke comes in, the B site is clear as day, but they need to get the bomb carrier back over here, as now Games Academy, they're going to get a little bit more aggressive here, and SHOOWTiME is able to spot that player moving inside of the vent, so they're going to know he's rolling in there, and SHOOWTiME just being safe, just in case there is that second player still hanging out in mid to try and find the even trade, but they're both on that B side. They're both getting ready to plant the bomb, and we look at the CTs here, actually decent amount of utility for the retake as well. They're just holding back for now, waiting to see if there's going to be any extra aggression, and now that the bomb is down, now they can start to move in and look for this. Molly and a smoke combined on 2 players, flashes an HE grenade. They've got everything they need to rework this take here. It's just about finding those kills, and they already pick up 1. They find the location of the second player, a little overexposed, but he finds 1, hits an 8, finds a second, and he's actually going to wrap right out and find the 3rd. Great performance from MAiNLiNE as he holds things together for enemy from the time being and clutches out that big round. And that'll be enemy again. Same story as our previous map. They keep themselves in it for the time being, but they also allowed Games Academy, another key factor or two, is they allowed Games Academy to get a good economy about themselves. So this one round being picked up doesn't break them just as of yet. They get another full rifle buy, full op buy up here from Hen as well. He's got everything he needs, along with armor. Doesn't get an upgraded pistol granted, but he's got that op, and that's the big gun he needs to work with. And even with the USP, on that previous map on Inferno, we were seeing him do a little bit of work with that as well, so it's not really going to hinder him by any big degree. So USA boys are still in it for the time being. And Games Academy, actually with a very passive approach here to this A site, as they are able to predict that take coming to the site pretty nicely, and you can see this too. There's Hen working with the op, playing himself a little bit held back there from Z, but he stops the mid-push from happening. Now they get aggressive to try and stop some more. Phoenix picks up one kill. MAiNLiNE does manage to find the trade for it, but at the same time, SHOOWTiME is there. Again, MAiNLiNE trading it back out, however, but now Taco knows it's coming, and he's just barely going to be able to get that kill. We almost saw it traded back, but koosta is very, very low indeed, and that's going to be able to shut him down. 3 still alive for Games Academy as they pick up their match point now, and they're going to be sitting at 15. Enemy, again, not really in a very good spot to do it. Tech 9 armor is going to be the name of the game here if they do decide to go for a buy, which, of course, they're going to have to. And that is indeed going to be what we'll see once again. Relyks, along with MAiNLiNE, able to pick that up. And the rest of the team, for some reason, koosta still sticks himself. Doesn't buy anything at all. Here he comes, a little bit late. I think there was a little bit of a disagreement as to how exactly they wanted to take this round, as that would have been fairly surprising. Uber's a little bit more understandable. When we look at his total, only sitting at 1150, so he's going to be the money save man, just in case this is a bit of an ugly round they do manage to come out on top of. They'll still have a little bit more of an excess and a full buy behind it, as, you know, you can just see here with $100 left, even with the victory, it is going to be a limited buy to some degree, but this opening push here actually works out great because Phoenix is caught with a nade in his hand, so he's not able to shoot out these players right from the get-go, and this Molly, it's doing work on a koosta, and Anomaly brings down to 27 and 44 HP. SHOOWTiME finding the first kill there, and they're holding back for now as they're not able to get themselves back into the site just as of yet. Uber finds one kill over here onto Phoenix, and now the rest of the team, they're coming back in. They've got utility lineup, just trying to position it great. And we can see, too, that MAiNLiNE waiting for his chance to pop right out. He's going to find the headshot over here on a Taco. 3 still left alive, but 3 of them from enemy side have been heavily injured. There's going to be SHOOWTiME and Hen coming in. They find a combination, 2 kills. But look at this rat from Relyks. He comes back in. He's going to spray them all down with the Tech 9. Picks up 2 kills, and then koosta comes in for the closer. An enemy again upset yet another round. 2 of their players surviving with under 20 HP on each of them. And they're just barely keeping this round alive, and this is enough now. This has been enough of a sort of shenanigan play to where Games Academy, for most of their players, they've been brought down under the buy margin now, so we'll see Lucas maybe going for it, but actually they're going to decide against it here. They just decided to save things up. They're going to let enemy more than likely get that 12th point onto the board. A couple 5-7s will be coming out into the mix here, but for the most part, this should be a round that we could easily see the members of enemy shutting down already in through middle at this point. The rest of enemy, they've been the rest of Games Academy, apologies, they've been wedged. They're going to be split up here. They'll try to rework themselves through Z to regroup onto that A site, but they don't have any idea themselves either as to where exactly this take is going to move in from, so they've got to watch out, as unfortunately with very limited intel as to what exactly is happening in middle, they can't really just go for a jerk rotate onto that A site assuming it's going to come in through there, and even as that first smoke fades, it gets re-smoked too. Relyks has his eyes right onto that, but look at the play, they're all going to rush themselves out of there. Thankfully, it's held off pretty nicely as both 3 players there from enemy are going to be able to execute them down. And then Uber is going to be the last one if they didn't find a kill over there. With this Glock, nonetheless, takes down Hen, in the plant for a little bit of extra cash. But again, now that they've gone for this big save on Games Academy side of things, they should be able to go for just another pretty liberal buy themselves here. The op goes on to Hen. Is going to be able to get armor. Not going to go for the head armor just as of yet, but again, you're working against the T's that for the most part have AKs anyway, so you have to remember that head armor doesn't really matter just as much as, you know, getting an extra nade or 2 as he's gone for the smoke buy up now would hurt. But look at Hen. Doesn't get the pop flash probably from a teammate, but actually decides against it as there's a nade that bounces his direction. And the rest of enemy, they're going to sit back. This will be interesting to see what they go for here. This is just going to be a waterfall play, I think, inside of A main, but they're, for the most part, they should be ready for this. They should be able to see this coming. They're working over middle instead, so that's going to draw a lot of attention in here. Anomaly, he's going to toss his smoke out back over there on the highway, but there's Hen catching the one player that does decide to go inside of A main. The T's, ironically enough, have sort of smoked themselves out of this. This gives them a lot of freedom movement to execute a truck player, but the Opper's pushed a lot more forward here, and there's Henny. He picks up 1 kill, Phoenix finding another one, and unfortunately, this good plan to try and take out the initial Opper just doesn't work out very well, and Games Academy are going to close it out what the hell? Games Academy are just going to close it out flawlessly on their final round here. So 16-12 is going to be the final score of our final map, guys. And that is going to close out the set as well in the favor of the Brazilian team. Games Academy win it 2-0 tonight. And a very satisfying performance from them once again. And that also closes it out for me, guys. So thank you very much for tuning in. And of course, I don't believe I'm going to be back tomorrow night. I'm not exactly sure what the status is for the next 2 nights on an English stream. You guys might have DDK and James for it, but I can't guarantee that just as of yet. Might have somebody else too, as I believe I'll be casting the ESL Pro League for the next 2 nights, so I will not be available. But thank you all very much for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed the stream, and we'll catch you next time, guys, for more StarLadder here at the English stream for StarLadder Counter-Strike. See you next time, folks, and yeah, hope you've enjoyed it.